I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Shuppet. Kakarenbo is the Japanese name for the classic children's game hide and seek. Hitori Kakarenbo, literally solo hide and seek, is a spooky Japanese urban legend. I first heard about it from a high school student I used to teach, who was obsessed with the macabre and the terrifying. Ideally played all alone in a dark house, the game goes like this. A player declares their turn, and then takes a doll or toy and hides it. After counting to the customary 10 and finding the doll, they then declare the doll's turn and go hide themselves. If one has done everything right and waits long enough, something finds them. A ghost-type Pokemon, Shuppet is a simple little cloth doll, not unlike the Teru Bozu, which we talked about back in the cast form episode. Its head has a pointy horn, and it has big blue eyes, but otherwise, Shuppet simply looks like a piece of cloth draped over a ball-like head. According to the Pokédex, Shuppet feeds on people's darkest emotions. Pokemon Ruby tells us, Shuppet is attracted by feelings of jealousy and vindictiveness. If someone develops strong feelings of vengeance, this Pokemon will appear in a swarm and line up beneath the eaves of that person's home. Pokemon Sapphire tells us, Shuppet grows by feeding on dark emotions, such as vengefulness and envy, in the hearts of people. It roams through cities in search of grudges that taint people. This leads, of course, to some people fearing it immensely. As Pokemon Ultra Moon tells us, there's a proverb that says, shun the house where Shuppet gather in the growing dusk. In traditional Japanese Shinto culture, there's a strong concept of purity, and death can make a place impure. This was one of the reasons the imperial capital moved after the death of each emperor in ancient times, and contributes to modern superstitions about old homes, as perfectly illustrated in classic horror film The Grudge. Shuppet's anime appearances just saw it playing pranks and being a nuisance. But like a doll engaged in some Hitori Kakarenbo, it never does any real harm. Even Shuppet's habit of eating negative emotions could be viewed as a good trait. Pokemon Ultra Sun says, it eats up emotions like malice, jealousy, and resentment, so some people are grateful for its presence. The name, Shuppet, of course comes from shadow and puppet. The Japanese name, Kagebozu, combines kage, or shadow, with the Teru Bozu we discussed before. As puppets or dolls go, Shuppet is pretty basic. It resembles a basic sheet-like ghost. It can become a much more complex marionette when, at level 37, it evolves into Banette. Banette is a squat humanoid doll stuffed into an oversized cloth, which dangles from the back of its head. It has menacing red eyes and a cruel smile zipped closed. A little stuffing emerges from its behind like a tail. Pokemon Emerald describes it like this. An abandoned plush doll became this Pokemon. They are said to live in garbage dumps and wander about in search of the children that threw them away. Possessed dolls are a classic horror trope, be it in the charming cheese of Chucky or the abject alarm of Annabelle. It seems as though Shuppet is okay to absorb others' negativity, but any feelings of its own are dangerous. As Fire Red tells it, strong feelings of hatred turned a puppet into a Pokemon. If it opens its mouth, its cursed energy escapes. Banette had a small niche in its early appearances, but it was far from a top-tier competitive Pokemon. Despite not being the most effective attacker, it might well have been the most vindictive. As Pokemon Ruby tells us, Banette generates energy for laying strong curses by sticking pins into its own body. This Pokemon was originally a pitiful plush doll that was thrown away. Poppets were a common tool of witchcraft, dolls representing people into whom pins could be inserted to lay curses. These days, the trope is often called a voodoo doll, though it has absolutely no basis in the Haitian voodoo religion. Interestingly, in the Pokemon Gold and Silver beta version that was leaked a little while back, there was an older Pokemon which was much closer to the classic voodoo doll look, even having a big pin right through its chest. The name, Banette, combines Bane for its baneful disposition with Marionette, the creepy puppet that dangles from strings. The Japanese name is Jupetta, combining puppet with Ju, which means curse, and is the first character in Ju-on, the original Japanese title of the film The Grudge. Pokemon Sapphire told us, "A cursed energy permeated the stuffing of a discarded and forgotten plush doll, giving it new life as Banette. The Pokemon's energy would escape if it were to ever open its mouth." In the 6th generation, we could see this prediction come true with Mega Banette. When Mega evolved, Banette's mouth is open, and more zippers have opened elsewhere, revealing fearsome claws and spike-like feet. The design is a little bit Disgaea to me, or at the very least a little Tim Burton. Pokemon Ultra Sun tells us, "Extraordinary energy amplifies its cursing power to such an extent that it can't help but curse its own trainer." Perhaps Mega Banette did curse the trainer, as despite taking up that valuable Mega Evolution spot, and having the highest physical attack stat of any Ghost Pokemon, Banette struggled to compete with more successful Ghost types like Gengar. Shuppet and Banette take inspiration from creepy classic children's ghost stories, but like Jessie from Toy Story 2, I can't help but want to give them a hug. And perhaps that would do the trick. As Pokemon Ultra Moon tells us, "Resentment at being cast off made it spring into being. Some say that treating it well will satisfy it, and it will once more become a stuffed toy." Music for Luke Loves Pokemon was composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, producing, and editing is all by me, Luke Summerhays, while funding is provided by my lovely listeners over at patreon.com/podcastio-podcastius, where you can find links to the other shows my friends and I create. I'd love to hear from listeners with your thoughts and feelings about the Pokemon you love too. Get in touch about the next monsters, Duskull and Tropius, or with your thoughts, feelings, and observations about any other Pokemon over on Twitter or Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Shuppet, and remember, I love you too.